The Last of Us Part 2. Oh boy, where do I begin? The question I have is, does the game suck? Well, I'll reach that verdict after I go over these 3 basic points: the world, the gameplay, and the story. Let's get started. Point 1. The world. Naughty Dog, you have done it again with your worlds and games. The Last of Us Part 2 takes you from snowy Jacksonville to a ruined Seattle where you spend most of your time in the game. The graphics are stunning and up to par. The attention to detail is just mind-blowing. Hell, I had to stop and slow down, or just plain old stop to have a look at these crazy views. From where you start at the beginning in snowy Jackson is beyond beautiful. You see how peaceful this world is with a big community. They have restaurants, child daycares, and tons of shops. You see kids playing in the streets, building snowmen, and throwing snowballs at each other. People are everywhere chatting among themselves and doing their part in this post-pandemic world. The character animations as well are a 10 out of 10 spot on. My time in Jackson made me appreciate how well Naughty Dog does with details, but that ain't the half of it. Next stop is Seattle. There's a lot of rain in Seattle, and that's why you see extreme details of collapsed buildings and lots of rotting going on. In this immersed city, there is tons of exploration, and with that, there's lots of looting. To be honest, you spend most of the game looting and trying to get upgrades to your weapons, which can get really old as time goes forward. There is only one open world moment in the game which they give you a map showing you where you are, but beyond that it's mostly closed areas to explore, but that doesn't change the fun out of looking around and taking in all the views. A bonus is we have 2 special infected, one being called the Scrambler and the other being called Stalkers. An extra challenge for the world of The Last of Us Part 2. Point 2. The gameplay. Now if you played the first Last of Us, you'll feel pretty much at home with some minor changes. A new thing you can do now is go prone, which is very helpful if you want to hide in tall grass from enemies or sneak up and snatch them from behind. The AI on the human enemies are well improved this time around, but they can still be dumb. You can set traps and throw bottles to distract them like any of the infected you come across. The combat is also up to par and can be very brutal. There is a few new guns you can find around the world, and some of them are in a safe where you have to find a code in the area to unlock. The bow is my absolute favorite. If you find these skill books around Seattle, you can upgrade your perks with pills like the first game. And you can craft different types of arrows, one being the explosive arrow. The weapon upgrade system has also had a huge update with crazy weapon upgrades, and seeing Ellie fix her weapons is very satisfying. The weapon selection system is also cool, when now you can find weapon holders around the map. Overall gameplay, I have to say, is very smooth. The final point, the story. Here is where I go to spoiler territory, so if you don't want to be spoiled, you have been warned. The story is where my opinion on this game takes a turn. The Last of Us Part 2 takes place 4 years after the first game. Now if you're like me and you wait 7 years for a sequel to this game, you want to see what happens with Ellie and Joel going forward. Ellie is now 18, all grown up, and she's living a happy life in Jackson until a tragic event unfolds, where then she is off on a revenge trip to Seattle. Sounds like an alright story in my book, right? Well, you'll find yourself wrong when this new character is introduced named Abby, and she kills Joel with a damn golf club right in front of Ellie. This scene is very brutal and hard to watch as your emotions are filled with anger. To be honest, I don't think Joel should have died in this way at all, especially very early on in the game. From point on, I believe half of the fan base either stopped playing or continued playing over that anger. Ellie then travels to Seattle to find and kill Abby. In Seattle, there is 2 groups, one being called the Wolves and the other being called the Scars, and I believe they're at war over land. Ellie is out for revenge and also looking for Tommy, aka Joel's brother, because he also wants revenge, and he took off first to Seattle. She kills like 1,000 people and Abby finds you, and then bam, you play as Abby for the other half of the game. Which I highly disliked at first because she is the asshole who killed Joel. Playing as her then explained that Joel killed Abby's father trying to save Ellie at the end of the first game, which led her to kill Joel in the first place. I did find that playing as Abby had better weapons and a better view of Seattle more than Ellie's half was. You then have to verse Ellie playing as Abby, which will make you literally want to drop your controller and let Ellie kill you. But the story still goes on. Ellie gets her ass kicked, and then bam, 9 months later, she is on a farm living her happy life, rinse and repeat. She is after Abby again. Then when she does find Abby again, they both fight and Ellie ends up letting her live. To me, I feel like the story was poorly written, and I would have felt better if someone else would have killed Abby than Joel. Then you can have Joel join you in Seattle, playing as Ellie, by your side for revenge. That would have been better. I also feel like the character development and dialogue were terrible and could be improved. Do I like the story overall? Well, I feel like there were 10 out of 10 moments like a Joel and Ellie flashback in the game, but that's just about it. With all that being said, I have to give The Last of Us Part 2 a verdict of 7 out of 10. I don't consider this a masterpiece. The story is the main downfall, but overall, everything else about this game is a 10 out of 10. I hope you all enjoyed this review. Give this video a like and a subscribe. See y'all next time.